Today's topic is spiritualizing everyday life. When we talk of spiritualizing everyday life, we are in fact talking about bringing a special sense to everything we do. An attitudinal change in all our act. It is spiritualizing everyday life. Basically, we all are spiritual beings. That our life is not spiritual is because of some defect in us, in our thinking, in our attitude. Removal of that defect and trying to see the things correctly will be spiritualizing our life. In the Upanishads, they talk about cleverness. We know in the world how people are clever. We say that man is very clever. He earned so much money because he is so clever. But the Shastras say, this is not cleverness. You are immersed in worldliness. You have forgotten your spiritual nature. You have forgotten your joy. And always are worried and tense in amassing the wealth and money, thinking it to be all, and made God your money. Your money has become God. Possession has become your devotion. Then you will, more than gaining, you will lose your peace and joy for which the human birth is supposed to be. So to enjoy life, you have to spiritualize your life. Eat, drink and be merry. Very good. We eat and we drink, but only that won't make us merrier. We need to eat and drink. But to become merrier, to become happy, to become joyful, we have to bring spirituality in our life. Then there will be eat, drink and be merry. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, this world is moja taki. It's a place of bliss and joy. But we need to bring spirituality. So how to spiritualize our daily life? Nothing you will have to do, but just change the outlook, that's what. There's a beautiful book by Swami Ashokananda, a booklet, a small booklet. In fact, he gave a talk on this topic in San Francisco, spiritualizing everyday life. So in that he says, first, what is the relation between God and creation? When you say spiritualizing, when you talk about a spirit, naturally the things come about God. Because God is a spirit. And what is this world is? World is a creation of God. Now what sort of creation? God created this world as a carpenter makes a table. From wood, there was something lying and God made whole universe, its living beings, sun, moon, planets, stars, and human being, animals, all he made from something external. That's wonderful to think, Swami Ashokananda says. And it's more like a baby to think that God created man, and for the enjoyment of human being, he created everything. Like all the creation, animals, plants, everything is for the joy of human being. He said it's very, very fantastic to think, and like a childish thought, but a rational mind doesn't accept that as true, how God can create just for the human beings. Whole creation is God's creation. Now another is how is God created this universe out of something else? So is there something else and God? So this will limit the infinity of God. Like a carpenter making a table or chair out of wood. So that also does not fit to the rational thoughts. So God must have created this universe out of Himself. In fact, the Advaita Vedanta will say, this whole universe is in fact God. It is a spirit. Already it is a spirit. But it looks material to us because we are ignorant, we are deluded. And this whole spirit looks material to us. We need to clean our vision and we will see this whole creation, which is none other than God, as a spirit. That will be real spiritualizing our daily life. And when we have gained such vision, illusion has gone, ignorance has dropped off, then we start seeing everything as God. Seeing divine in this creation. That's all the scriptures say. When Ishopanishad said, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Cover this whole creation with God. Spiritualize everything that you see. And treat others as a spirit, as God. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yad Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. This moving, changing world, treat this as covered with God. It is unchanging, unmoving. Try to see Nityo Anityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman Kathopanishad. Try to see the eternal in the changing. Try to see the consciousness among the conscious being. Try to see the one in many. And that is reality. This manifoldness, this variety, seeing difference, seeing many is knowledge, is ignorance. It is like, then how this? All will be like seem one. Sri Ramakrishna gives very nice example. He said it is like a city made of wax. There is a beautiful city, small town made of wax. Houses are made of wax. Human beings are wax. Animals are wax. Trees are wax. So though trees, animals, human beings, buildings, roads, everything will be seen as different. But there is underlying unity among them. And that is the wax. Similarly, we can see all a different, beautiful, wonderful nature, manifold, with trees and rivers and stones and variety of human beings. But we need to have that vision, which could make us feel that there is an underlying unity. Oneness pervades everything. All are made up of one, if you call material, that material is spirit. All made up of a spirit, which looks as material. All divisions are just name and form. Everything wax, you say made of tree, looks like tree, and you call it tree. Name given tree and form is tree. But it is wax. Traditional example of Vedanta is gold ornaments. People see bangles, earrings, necklace, but a wise person or even thief, he will see only gold. He doesn't make distinction because he will snatch and then he will try to sell as gold. For him, matters gold. That stealing. The thief is wiser in that sense. He sees gold, underlying unity. So in that sense, as I was saying, cleverness, thief is clever. That cleverness, the scriptures want us to have. Sa chaturi chaturi. That cleverness is the cleverness. When we will be able to see everything as spirit. Spirit manifested or spirit looking or seeming as material, as different beings, as different human beings, as different life, different manifestation of one spirit. That is spiritualizing our life. We need to see God in everything. Upanishads, one of the very fundamental statement of the Upanishad is Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. Whatever you see is indeed Brahman, and Brahman is that reality. What you see as differences is because you have put glasses, colored glasses, and you see color. Clean your vision. Purify your attitude, and you will see God. Spiritual growth, Swami Ashokananda writes, spiritual growth is a quest for unity. And as we grow more and more spiritual, our inner being becomes more and more unified. We do not want to do anything except serve God. We want only to think about Him, to love Him. We do not want to do anything else. And yet, there are other things we must do. Now, when we grow in spirituality, when we start loving God, that love is developing, then love for God can grow in such a way that we may forget our duties to the world, to our children, to our wife, husbands, relatives. And I want to be more associated with God. I love reading Bhagavatam more than going to work. If I could have off day today. But is that possible? And is that desirable? Vedanta says no. For some it may be, but you can make your whole life spiritual. You can get the benefit of reading Bhagavatam while doing your work, while transacting your job, while dealing with the customers. You can benefit the joy, what you would get while you read Bhagavatam and Krishna Leela and the life of Jesus. That thing you have to do while doing your daily work, interacting with the difficult people. How do we do? Just correction of vision. The best thing, the relatives, sons, children, wife, they come. Shastras say, deify that. Try to see God in them and serve them as God. Not that child is mine, it belongs to me, I have to correct him. Don't see that way. See that the son that is born to me is in fact God who has come to me in the form of child. That way we spiritualize. We give our children the names. It was the custom to give name according to the name of God. Why do we do that? Kalipada, Gopala, Shambhu, Durga, Srimoi, Ishani. All these are the names of God. The main purpose of doing that was to remind us that what you see in front of your small child, he is not your child, he is God in the form of your child. Your duty is to serve God, worship God. Serving the child and taking care of his needs is worshipping God. God in different forms have different types of worships. Vishnu likes tulsi leaf, Shiva likes willow leaf. Durga loves red flowers and Narayana loves white flowers. So each God has to be given what is needed or what he or she likes. Similarly, we need to worship the gods in front of us perfect way of worship. With the idea, if we have that the children that we are rearing and making grow are God, with that attitude comes strong in us, then whatever we do for the child will be worship of God. That attitude will be always in our background. Suppose we have to chastise, become harsh, treat them hard, but we will be praying to God, Lord, this is an offering to you. And then we will chastise. If we could do that, pray before we do something, some very harsh treatment, then it is worship of God. It is spiritualizing our life. And then we maintain the attitude of worship. Suppose there is a sick person, and God in sick, Daridra, Rogi Narayana, and we go to serve. Service is the lower name compared to worship. We want to worship God in that sick person. Now, naturally, we don't worship sick person with flowers and sandal paste and dhupam and deepam. We worship them with offering medicine, taking care, and giving food. Different way to worship God in different forms. All are God. What we see are nothing but God. Nothing else exists. What exists is God. That is the way we spiritualize our life. So a sick person, how do we worship? How do we feed him? We don't feed him because he's a God. We bring plate full of fruits and then nice delicacies we cooked with lot of this bhaja, this dal, this thing, moog and all that we cook and give, Lord, please partake of this. We do that to serve God in sick person. We give him a sick diet. We use him nice words. Sometimes if he's not listening, we want to administer medicine, then even we have to scold them. You have to take them. Knowing fully that I am scolding this God, but I am worshipping him by these harsh words. Sri Ramakrishna used to say about 3 kinds of doctors. One who just gives medicine and doesn't take care, notice whether the patient is taking medicine or not. That is the lowermost type of doctor. Adham Vaidya, he used to say. There is a mediocre doctor who gives medicine and often asks, do you take the medicine? Are you keeping okay? Little concern. So it is mediocre. And the best doctor, best worshipper, who has gone higher into the spiritualizing everyday life, that medicine is bitter, like methi liquid, methi dissolved in water, so bitter. The people don't want to drink. The doctor, the best doctor will be, not only you say takes methi water every day. He will say, have you taken methi water? No, actually it's so bitter, it feels like hala hala. Shiva drinking hala hala would be like that. So it's the second grade of hala hala, it seems so bitter. Doctor say, what? You don't drink methi? You are diabetic and you must have. Then he throws that person on the ground, puts Sri Ramakrishna describes the Uttam Vaidya, and then puts his knees on the chest of that person, makes the mouth open wide with forcibly and pours that methi water or whatever bitter medicine. That is the best worship. And attitude should have to be clear. Not that what you word, what you do, but what is your attitude behind the word? That makes the difference. Attitude is, I am serving Lord, my God, in this sick person by this treatment. Lord, forgive me for this harsh treatment. I know you are God. You have come to me in front of me as a sick person, and that is the way to worship you. Another thing we should do is maintaining attitude of worship at all times. While working, walking, sitting or talking. That's what Arjuna had asked. What a realized soul, a man who always is in spirit. How does he walk? How does he sit? How does he behave? How does he talk? Everything, when one person of realization, a man who lives in the spirit, he does with different attitude. We need to change our attitude while doing this thing. How could we change attitude? Mama nusmara yudhasa. Think of God. When you see another person, think of God. Any known person, any face, think of God. The God is coming to me in the form of this person. Some we like, some we don't like. But whom we don't like, that is also equally God manifested as the person whom we like. With our love for God, our chosen ideal developing and becoming stronger, our liking and disliking toward different personalities will become weaker. And our love in heart will grow. Our treatment will be almost equal. That we see in the life of saints, how they treat, whether their friend or devotee or disciple comes or a thief comes, how they treat them equally, it will come to our life. Only the need is to change the attitude. And always reminding in our background that it is God who has become this whole creation. There is nothing but God who seems to me as this person, this tree, this rock, this river, this moon, this planet and this star. There is nothing but God. Only God is, and nothing else is. That is the philosophy, that is the attitude, strong conviction in our heart that will make our everything spiritualized, our everyday life spiritualized. Didn't Arjuna say, Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, Arjuna, fight in the battle, but with the right attitude. That attitude is, don't forget me. While you kill this Drona and Bhishma, remember me in your heart. Mam anusmara yuddhasa. Only you remember me when you pray in the shrine. That is not spiritualizing your whole day, everyday life. That is a part which will infuse and inspire you to see God that you are worshipping in the picture or in the symbol or in the idol, to see that God presence in every human being, in every creature, in every animal. That will help grow love for chosen ideal. That love will make your life spiritual. And you will be able to see the Spirit in everything. The same Spirit shining forth through every being. Ashokanandaji writes very nicely, just to think whether it's true or not. He says, it is easier to think of God in a living person than in a symbol or picture. When we see God in front of picture, we have to imagine that it is living. Sri Ramakrishna is looking through his eyes, he is smiling, just we have to imagine everything. And what happens when we see a person? He looks through his eyes, and it's God's eyes that are looking to me. He speaks, God is speaking through this person. I'm seeing the face of God. So, interacting, the smile we see in the person, and that's God smiling. It is much easier to think of God in a living person than to think of God in a symbol or in a picture or image. This Ashokanandaji says from his experience. It needs little effort in the beginning. The thing comes because we divide the world. When we see a nice person, not nice, whom we call nice, we call good. That may be another person we call bad. He must be very good than the person I call good. I like this person because of some reason. Why I like someone and why I do not like someone, there is also selfish interests, if it go deeply into it. They say when someone dies, then we cry, and we feel pain, we feel suffering. And that, behind that also, if you see, there is a very subtle selfish interest. What will happen to me after my father has died? Who will look after me? Who will give me money? Now whole responsibility of the family will come to me. Selfish interest that makes us cry. Selfish interest that makes us love. Upanishads say that husband loves wife not because she is a wife, but because of selfish interest. Of course, there are two ways to explain the verse. Nava hare patyu kamaya pati priyo bhavati. Atmanastu kamaya pati priyo bhavati. Shankaracharya explains it that because of our self-interest, the wife loves husband. Swami Vivekananda explains in a still better way. He says not because of self-interest, but because of the self that is in the husband, my own self that is in the husband. That's why the wife loves husband. But self is there, whether with a small s or capital S. Something interconnectedness is there. So that's why we like someone or dislike someone. Both are wrong. We have to love everyone. And with the maturity of our attitude and our regular practice and our spiritual growth, time will come when we will have less attraction to the person we like, less repulsion to the person we dislike, and growing love for all, both of them, and they will become equal. When we grow spiritually, when your friend comes, you will smile and welcome. When the person you do not love that much, he comes, you will be treating the same way, smiling and welcoming and becoming happy. Because now this attitude in the vision is coming. More of a spirit is being seen. More of God is being seen. Because you are immersed in the thought of God. Mam anusmara yuddhacha. You are thinking of the spirit. You are thinking of God manifesting as many. One spirit which seems as many. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, you meditate on God by closing your eyes and you see God. Deep meditation, either you see light or you see a form of God whom you like, on which you meditate, living, and you feel so happy. But when you open your eyes, is God vanished? Chok banda korle tini achen, chok khulle tini nahi. When you close eyes, God is there, and you open eyes, God vanished. No God. So that is imperfection. That is incompleteness in spiritual life. Of course, spiritual life will begin by trying to see God in some place more manifested than in another. But it has to evolve, and progress has to be there to be able to see God everywhere, in every being, in everything of the universe. Sarvata panipadam tat sarvatok shishirumukham. What will happen when we grow in spiritualizing our life? Then every feet, as I was saying, when a person comes, his eyes look, he remembers the eyes of God. His nose, his lips, madhuram, vadanam, madhuram, nayanam, that madhurastakam, like that it will become. If you are thinking of Krishna, not only you will think of madhuram, another person comes, you think Krishna of him. The same eyes, same nose, same lips, same smile. Upanishad said, for a person who has realized God, he says, Sarvatah panipadam tato Gita. Sarvatah panipadam tat sarvatok shishiromukham. He is there with all feet, walking with all feet. All faces are his. Sarvatah shrutimal loke sarvam avrita tishtati. All ears are his. Whatever feet of human being you see, you don't call it human being's feet. You call God's feet, whom I see as human being's feet. God's eyes, I see as his eyes. The human being has been replaced. Devashish has been replaced by Sri Krishna. You see Sri Krishna there. The same love for that man as you feel that attraction for Krishna in your shrine. That will come with practice and attitudinal correction of seeing someone as human being. Swami Vivekananda said, I see from my birth, and you also see, nothing but God. I worship that God whom ignorant call man. Man, God made Man in his own image. So that the scriptures say, Bible says that. Whom we call man and treat differently, not as God, then we are wrong, we are mistaken, we are deluded, we are ignorant. Treatment to every human being has to be as if we are treating God Himself. Every human being. Treat all human beings as God, fool and clever, good and not so good. All can be thought of as the veritable presence of God. And that becomes, it is not impossible, it is possible and it has to be done. Maintaining this attitude is difficult, but it has to be practiced, and it will come one day. Every path to progress is difficult, and so this is spiritualizing everyday life also. How to do it? First, we must have a philosophy behind it. A monistic Vedanta philosophy is most helpful. It says, God alone is, nothing else is. So that philosophy behind our every action will be helpful to see God in every being. Sri Ramakrishna said, if the world as I see was real, then I would have covered whole Kamarpukur with gold. But this world, as it seems, is unreal, illusory. What I see is not the true sight. My vision is defective. What is real in this world is God. If I see anything other than God, then there is defect, there is delusion. I see a tree and it doesn't remind me of God. I see a person and God, I don't see God. I see a wicked man and not God. So everywhere it is delusion. It is not correct vision. I need to set my eyes, my glasses right. Then I will see God. Setting glasses right is always thinking of that whole this creation, whole this universe is nothing but God. It requires a change of vision. It requires a change of attitude. And for that, constant struggle. It won't come in a day. It will not be that easy. But it is worth having. The second point how to practice is, don't let your ego swell. Often we are distracted and delusioned by our ego. Someone comes and praises and our ego is swelled. Someone blames, says something false and we feel bad. Analyze who is saying and whom it is said. And who are you? First, I am the spirit. This body, mind, senses, speech, eyes, all these are just a covering of mind. I am much more greater, much more beautiful, much more blissful than what I am seen or I think myself to be. What ego says, you are this body, that is wrong. So don't let ego swell and keep it trimmed and smaller and try to manifest the spirit. And whenever there is praise or blame, always know the praise or blame is to your ego, not to yourself. Your spirit, the real person in you, cannot be criticized, cannot be blamed, cannot be even praised, because it is one with the universe, one with the Lord. So whenever something comes, just philosophize. To whom it is being said? It is being said to your ego, which is your false identification, and not to yourself. Detach that time. Practice needed. And who is saying? Deify that. Don't say someone is coming, he is egoistic and saying. Say, God is saying. It is God who is coming and saying that to me. This, you have so many defects. So analyze that. Perhaps God speaks that way. One day Sri Ramakrishna was there and he says, this dog wants to speak to me. And he says, God, speaks that way. God speaks through other persons and other beings. The story of Satyakama going to forest and bull speaking, swan is speaking, Mudga is speaking, fire is speaking, is all that. God speaks like that. And that beautiful story that one person, devotee, was drowning in the flood and he prayed to God, God save me. One person comes and knocks at the door, come with me, I brought boat. He said, no, I will not go with you. God will save me. Then the water rises still higher. He goes to the roof, say, God save me, God save me. Then helicopter comes and come. Flood is coming, it will drown your house, you will die. What do you say? God will save me. I am devotee of God. And the water rises, the house collapses, man drowns in the water and dies. Then holy man he was, Lord of God's name he had taken, goes to heaven. But instead of being happy in front of God, he's very serious. And God says, what happened? You don't get to be happy? You are with me, you have cried, you have prayed me for all your life and now you are in front of me. Then he says, Lord, I have a question. So what question? He said, I called upon you and I had full faith in you. I thought you would save me, but you didn't save me. I just died in the flood. He said, what do you say? I went to save you. You didn't try to save me like I said. I went to save you. When did you go to save me? I was calling always to you. You never came. So I came you in the form of man who brought boat, in the form of person who brought helicopter, but you always denied me. That is the way God comes in our life. Sometimes bringing a little suffering for our good to burn out our karma. But that is God coming. Swami Yogananda says very nicely, when you find someone bringing you nice words, little praise, good, you have a good feeling, or someone brings harsh words, ill treatment, brings suffering, don't be angry or praiseworthy to those persons. They are just like a mailman who brings mail. Sometimes mailman brings bill, sometimes they bring check. So it's like that. He has nothing to do, that person has nothing to do. All comes from God. Everything that you receive is a gift of God. So if you have someone praise, someone nice words, kind words coming, that is the mailman is bringing check. And when it's some frowning person comes and every day uses harsh words to you, that is he prays the God is bringing, God is sending me the bills. That is the thing. When I say I like this, I hate that, know that it is ego's play. Eliminate the feeling of high and low, saint and sinner, man and woman. It will come with practice. Upanishads say, Tvam stri, tvam pumanasi, tvam kumara utava kumari. Seeing everything, try to see at God. Little girl coming, it is God you are. Small boy, a grown-up man, it's all God you are there. Like that, try to correct the attitude. Swami, and it happens. It's not that seeing when a spiritual progress is there, the vision of the difference between men and women also vanishes. You don't see a person as man or woman, or good looking or ugly looking. You just see something joyful person coming to you. Because God is in you. You have spiritualized the vision. And that happens. Swami Turiyananda said, while I was in America, I was not conscious of the difference between men and women. This happens. When love is in your heart, when you are filled with love, you don't care of appearance or clothes or ornaments others are wearing. When one person whom you love most comes, your daughter comes after 5 months in foreign. Do you see what she is wearing, whether she has an earring or not, what type of earring she is wearing? We just are happy seeing your daughter. That is the joy. No clothes, no ornaments. How does she look? Is she wearing beautiful clothes or dirty clothes or clean clothes? You don't see at all. All this go on the background. You see only daughter. The presence of daughter coming to you takes away all other minor things. Similar thing happens when we become spiritual. Then we see the person coming, we see the God coming because you are always filled with the thought of God. then whether this is a man or woman, that also doesn't matter. The difference is subside and God manifests more. Now, tremendous effort to change one's outlook is needed. Every time anybody passes by, remind yourself. A lot of practice needed, it won't come. Ashokanandaji says, remind yourself, here is God Himself passing in the form of this man. God Himself is speaking. Remind yourself, God Himself is looking through these eyes at me. It is God who is shaking my hand. Always you have to bring God in all your activities, in all your actions and thought. The presence of God, presence of Spirit has to be behind all your motives and actions. Only then can we spiritualize. Is it difficult? Not at all. It is spontaneous if we have love for God. If we have love for God, you will see God everywhere. Remember the story of Kabuliwala? Rabindranath Tagore, the famous poet of Bengal, Nobel laureate, he wrote a beautiful story of Kabuliwala. A person from Kabul in Afghanistan had come to sell simple things in Calcutta. And coming to a house, he saw a small girl and he was overwhelmed to that girl. And what he started seeing in that girl, Mini, he started seeing his own daughter who is in Kabul and whom he had not seen for a few months, 6 months. That girl, Mini, was transformed to his own daughter. If we have love, we transform our vision. In that case, maybe it was delusion. That girl was not his daughter. But in the spiritual being, it will be the right vision, getting away of delusion, seeing a person as he or she is. And the person is nothing but God. When we see a man, it is delusion. When we see a God, that is reality. To have this if it is difficult to see God every time, we can start this practice from a very basic steps, like regular worship and spiritual practice. First step, we do spiritual practice, the japam, taking name. Then slowly develop liking for chanting and singing God's name. More do that and develop liking. It can be developed. Human mind is such. Wherever you put, it starts liking. A person goes to jail, a criminal, and after 30 years, he doesn't want to come out. He has developed love for jail. That is the case of our mind. And that is the way we adjust with the situations also. When I came here first to Toronto, I was thinking of all this India, so nice, so big, my brother monks and all that. And slowly I'm here for 5 years now. I love this place. I have so many good friends, all nice. So mind adjusts. Wherever the mind, you put your mind starts liking that. If you try to develop the liking for God's name by chanting, repeating silently, doing japam, love for God's name will come. And it will come in such a way, if you repeat once God's name, Krishna, you will feel body pleasant, you will feel the presence of God. It develops into that. Nayanam garadastudharaya badanam gadagada ruddhaya gira. When will that day come? Sri Chaitanya says, when I will speak once Krishna, and my hairs on my body will stand erect, and my tears will come from my eyes, and my voice will be choked with love for thy name. Grant me that day when I have so much love for your name. So that comes with the practice. Then visiting temples and holy places. Next, being in the company of holy person, holy books, holy thoughts, holy visions. These all are the steps to spiritualize our everyday life, to see the whole creation as God. next small thing that you can practice is care and concern for others. Start serving others, doing something for others. Slowly, your mind becomes purified and you start developing love for others and love for God. It comes. And not only others, concern for nature, concern for other living forms. That makes us finally to spiritualize our everyday life. Try to understand yourself vis-a-vis the world, that you are a part of this whole creation, inseparable and one with it. That is the primitive vision when before you start seeing yourself as the spirit. First you see till you have ego and you identify yourself with the body, but it is much easier to feel and think that you are not separate, not unique, you are a part of this whole creation. Make yourself as a part and get connected with everything in the universe. Unity is spirituality. Learn to look upon others not as physical but as spiritual. And you will learn to look upon yourself also as a spirit. Thus, you will spiritualize everything you do in your day-to-day life.